Hey, right, okay, so after that technical difficulty, we're on this time. Mics are actually working. Musicians Fae Moray Part 2. We've got two aspiring musicians here again. The two Jamies, as we'll call them. Jamie Reid and Jamie Hill here with us. How is it, guys, even though I just asked you that question about 10 seconds ago? Oh, well, good to see nothing.
Bounce it back and ask how you are again.
Yeah, well, nothing's changed in the last 20 seconds, so I think we're all good going forward. So anyway, just before I kind of realised what I'd done, we were just about to talk about, like I said, your early life, where you grew up, and your first like memory moment of music that made you feel like I want to kind of pursue this as a passion, so to speak.
Start with easy questions, will we?
Yeah. Start as you mean to go on, my friend.
You're younger than me, you can remember easier. So
You sure do that. Well, I've always liked music ever since I was a kid. But it was mainly when I was about 18, 19, things sort of properly kicked in. An Elvis video just popped up, and it was like a 1968 comeback special or something.
Yeah.
And
tight leather or black suit.
big leather black suit.
Black
Yeah.
suit, sorry.
The leather black suit. And he was playing this song called Baby What You Want Me to Do, and it's a real bluesy song, real rhythm and blues type song, and it's very early rock and roll sort of stuff.
I was about to say it would probably be really representative of that era as well, I would imagine.
Oh yeah. And that sort of just I saw him playing it, and he just looked so cool because he was really good looking, wasn't he?
Yeah.
And he just looked so cool. I mean, the presence, when he walked into the room, you could just sense the presence that he had, and he was playing that song, and it just sort of everything. I don't know what it was. Someone just went. I was like, I've got to be able to do that. I don't know. I just want to be able to do that. And then it was like a wee voice in my head was just like, go buy a guitar, go buy a guitar, go buy a guitar. And it was, I couldn't help it. I just kept watching it, and it was fascinating. And then that led me to buy a guitar, and then that was like one of the first tunes I learned because I just had to be able to do it.
Yeah, I feel like we can almost become, especially when we find something that we actually really want to pursue, we can almost become obsessed with things, right? Not like in a bad way, but like when you analyze, like you were saying, that performance from Elvis and that, and it just kept, the same kind of message kept running through your head, like you need to learn this instrument, you need to at least try and learn this instrument. But and there's I was saying this on the last Musicians Fae Moray episode that I was doing, that the first moment in your life where you say, okay, I'm going to take something up, and then you make progress or a success in that, not necessarily like, playing in front of crowds straight away and whatever, but like you said, learning a song is like a really massive moment of euphoria, and I don't think you ever experience that on the same level ever again after that. In terms of, especially, it's usually the same with whatever your influence when you're younger is usually the kind of person you'll be later on, if that makes sense, in the sense of, you said music was like quite a big thing for you as a kid growing up anyway, but obviously there was that moment of I don't want to say inspiration because it's quite a cliche word, isn't it? But
that's exactly what it is.
Exactly.
That's exactly what it is.
Or almost like it molds you, should I say?
Yeah.
I think it just it's. I think we're all creative in a way, right, as humans, and many people express that in different ways, whether it's sport, music, acting, so on and so forth. And I think it's just the first thing that kind of clicks with your mindset. It's the thing that just takes it to like the next level, and then obviously your brain gets that enjoyment out of doing that it just makes you go for it on the next level. But so yeah, what about yourself, Jamie? We've give you a bit of time to reminisce.
It's quite difficult really, because like I was trying to kind of think through, like obviously I was like 90s kid, so I was born in 1990, so like kind of my brother was a bit older than me. My brother, so there's 14 years between us. So kind of, there's so many different aspects of like kind of things that can influence me. Like,
did his music taste rub off on you at all?
Yes and no. Some things he loves, I hate. Some things he loves, I love more, kind of thing.
Yeah.
My brother's got like he is really into music, to be fair. As is my dad. My mother, not as much as my dad, I would say, but she still kind of does listen to music quite a lot. Just her taste isn't that good.
Yeah.
But they're like things like, from my father's side of things, it'd be like Kinks, Beatles, David Bowie, like kind of everything, like even like 50s, like Dean Martin, Frank Sinatra,
the Rat
everything
Pack
from
and
like
that,
there all the way to kind of forefront, like kind of more kind of modern things, like that, even like kind of like idea like kind of Green Day kind of thing, things like that. It's like kind of, it's like the idea like kind of modern punk thing, like from the Jam and everything like that.
Yeah.
He sees like he can like kind of like not musical in the least, but he can kind of see the similarities between certain kind of things with them. So like when it came to that, I think the earliest I would have would be kind of probably kind of listening like in the car or something like that, listening to songs like that, or like coming out of my brother's room, was things like that.
It'd
like
be like stuff like that would be like in a time where radio was like the main platform of music, right? If someone released a single, that would be where you first heard it, rather than obviously
on a cassette.
Yeah,
like on a cassette in the car.
Good old VHS cassettes all over the place. But I think like obviously we'll maybe dive into that a bit later. But obviously there's so many more platforms now for music to just anything really, right? To just be put out there with the creation of the internet and that. But I think one thing in common that from what we've talked about so far is like all these acts and that. There's a big sense of they enjoyed what they did, and you could tell that in their performance, right? Like even from something like the Rat Pack, which is a total different style of music to Elvis, David Bowie, and that, there was always an element of enjoyment, and it was infectious to like the crowds that they were playing to, or you know, halls, you know, concerts. There was like I remember the Rat Pack was like half singing, half comedy club, right? Almost like when I watched like videos from the 60s and stuff like that. So yous both kind of around the same teenage years kind of get into music and that. How did this relationship start? Did you meet as friends outside of music, or was it something
I know exactly how we met.
I think before we say that, I was really early going into it though. Like you were saying you were 18, 19 when you started playing?
You were a lot.
I started playing when I was about 13.
13, yeah.
13, because like the way that like I really did start getting into music was like kind of, I had like a keyboard for Christmas one year, because like a family friend had a keyboard and was like sitting button bashing on the thing and all sorts of stuff. And then it came like kind of, it was more or less out of boredom. It was like this kind of old like Yamaha keyboard kind of thing. It was like came with like sheet music, and like I had no idea like how to do it, but I could like kind of like it showing you like kind of like a printout of like all the kind of notes and everything. And I was like, I couldn't name that 1, 2, 3, 4 things like that for all like the kind of all the white keys. Sorry. And like all the black keys, I kind of just left them because they were alien to me to begin with. Yeah. So you could play everything like kind of like in major scale or whatever like that. So like that was how I kind of started with music, and I was only about 8 or 9 then.
Mm-hmm. Do you think like I think there's an element of people that self-teach something? I'm not saying. First of all, actually, did you take up any lessons or anything like that?
Lessons with keyboard wasn't until a lot later on. It just started off as that
self-taught, because I feel like, not to be like cynical or anything, but I think a lot of like music lessons and that I think there's a lot of it, and I think it's maybe school in general. There's a lot about like conditioning of like, okay, we're going to teach you to do this, but in a certain way, not your individuality or the way you want to express yourself. Just, you know, follow what we're doing and you pick that up. So I think like a lot of like self-teaching and that is actually makes, you know, it's what makes people unique, right? In terms of what they put into it and what they actually put out of it afterwards, you know?
I agree with that. Because when I was studying music for standard grades, that's like a thing of the past now, I suppose. But when I was doing standard grades, like 3rd and 4th year, it was like all this kind of stuff out of like, it was just like kind of, you had to like kind of learn a song out of a book kind of thing, and it would get recorded and sent away to SQ or whatever. Like, the sounded like other songs. The riffs were like kind of almost ripped off, like kind of changed about and everything like that. You could recognise them taken from other songs and the chord progressions and things like that. But in my 4th year one, like I'd already done like the different stuff before that, and then it's like, oh, you need another like song with like 2 minutes something. You need to add it in your portfolio before you do it, and like, this is what you want to do. And they kind of gave me a load of like songs, so like kind of bands. I knew Thin Lizzy was one of my favourite bands, and so it's like, well, I'll do Thin Lizzy Jailbreak. Mm-hmm. So it was interesting being like kind of told like all these kind of random songs. Like, you're basically told you're doing that, and then like it was kind of refreshing for them to turn around and say, well, here's a book of songs you will know because you're into rock music. So what one do you want out of all these? Mm-hmm. And it was like kind of like a kid at school, literally, like at the shop getting sweeties. Like, well, what one can I choose? Because like there was just so many of them. It's like I would like to play any of them, because it was so refreshing to do that as opposed to like a curriculum kind of thing.
Yeah, like a kind of more linear kind of like, here's what you're learning today. There's 45 minutes on the clock. Try your best.
See how far you get through it kind of thing. Yeah.
See you next week. But,
I was the complete opposite to that.
Yeah.
What do you want to do? I don't want to do I'm not interested. Like,
Go home.
see, when it
That's
came
what I
to,
do.
honestly, when it came to anything, I mean, even when I was in high school, music wasn't something I wanted to pursue.
Do you think that was more to do with the kind of establishment around it rather than the actual music itself?
Oh, probably.
Yeah.
Oh, aye, 100%. I think if it was, you know, if I was at home and they were saying, right, your education is just go teach yourself to, I don't know, play guitar or, you know, teach yourself to write songs, I would have probably done that.
Or at least to like input into it rather than here's a music sheet and, you know, you're either going to fail or pass. Because music is I think one of the things I appreciate about music the most is that it's not something you can be right or wrong at. Do you know what I mean? There's so many different kind of ways of expressing yourself through music. Yeah. And I like, there's always a quote that I kind of reference with Dave Grohl where he was talking about him and his bandmates. He was talking about, like, even though we do all this and that shouldn't discourage people that maybe, I don't want to say art, because I think you can improve with anything. I don't really believe in like just off the cuff talent. I think you get out what you put in kind of mentality. And he was saying that even if you like suck, at least play in the garage and suck together. Do you know what I mean? And I think that's where there's, with kind of passions and where you go with that, there's like a fine line of, I'm a big believer of like corruption of the human mind in terms of whenever someone gains power, and it comes in many forms like social status or money, so on and so forth, that it can kind of blur your vision a bit. So people maybe start getting into music, but maybe let's just say someone gets 3,000 listens on Spotify and they've had 50 before. I feel like that's a point where you have to balance yourself and realize that I'm not doing it for that. And, you know, like I've said before, I'm not even immune to that, because I think even in the day, like especially with the days of social media now, whenever someone likes your post or shares something or whatever, you get a dopamine hit from that. And I think we all kind of feel that in a way. And I think we'd all be kind of lying to ourselves if we hadn't like seen like, if someone's wished me happy birthday on Facebook or that. Do you know what I mean?
See how many you've got.
Yeah, exactly. Do you know what I mean? And I think like,
I'm actually so droll, I don't care. Yeah. So I think it's maybe because I'm older.
I think the older I got, the more, you know, I just didn't.
Yeah, it's definitely it's definitely a millennial thing, as they like to report it in the media. But, so yeah, tell me a bit about how you came about becoming friends and stuff like that. Was it through music itself, or was it beforehand?
No, I was out in my car one night and I was bored and I was just spinning about, and he was sitting in the station car park by himself, waiting for Susan to finish work. He's on his iPad, and we knew each other, but we weren't like pals at that point. Yeah,
it's kind of like one of those.
I just pulled him inside. I was like, "What's going?"
Yeah, I was literally about to say it's one of the nods.
That's literally what it was. And then
I was just an acquaintances more than anything else.
And then we just got talking about music and that, and then obviously I was learning guitar at the time, so I had no songs. I had nothing. Like I had nothing at this point. And
I think it was one night you taking your guitar out. I don't think you knew. I realised I had played guitar or that.
I might have been jamming with someone else at the time, and then I might have had the guitar with me, and that might have been what it was. And then
geese a shot,
and then that was it. We just
started blasting out tunes.
We just became pals after that, and just we were jamming and messing about.
Yeah.
So there was that kind of mutual connection of you both were into music, right? So
we're into a lot more than that. We're into like cars and all that as well.
Yeah, a lot of kind of common ground with that. Mutual interest, I suppose you'd say.
So when did it go from you actually jamming together and that, like, you know, going round to...
That was just a kind of mess about it. It was just something to hang out more than anything else. Just like take a guitar and thrash about.
Aye.
Like, kind of, it's like, can you play this?
A couple of times.
Heard this tune before, it's like, kind of things like that. Yeah.
Aye, a couple of times we were at a beach car park and we would just take a guitar out and just randomly just...
Summer night,
aye. And then, obviously, and then there was a friend of Jamie's that has got quite a bit of experience in recording and stuff, and he was like, interested to come down and, you know, kind of help out a bit. So he was like, go write. He's like, have you got any songs? And I was like, nah. And he's like, go write some songs. And it took me a few years, didn't it?
Yeah.
Because I'm not going to release anything I'm not happy with, so...
Yeah.
I was waiting to perfect
it. I don't know, I think you had a lot of songs on the back burner. It was just there was nothing you were happy with about putting out then.
Well, you know what I'm like, I'm just terrible at that, and I'm a perfectionist, so
yeah.
If I look at it and I go, that's not good enough, he'll go, it's brilliant, what you thought?
Just these bits changed now.
So it's like, I don't know, it took me years to sort of go, alright, okay, let's try this then. And then eventually we got there.
can remember the first one came around and recorded. Like, it never really kind of started off like we were going to be in a band or anything like that. It was more so kind of like when I was 16, I'd got like this kind of thing, kind of not much bigger than that. It's like a Zoom MRS 1608 or something. It's the proper term for it. It's a 16. It's a 16 input. It's a 16 input recording studio. So it's like you've got like you've got 8 inputs at the back that double up to the 16, and you've got 2 at the front for like guitars, like literally DI, like same as like kind of your 3-pin mic cables and everything. And then basically just looks like a kind of PA mixing desk, like the size of it. And you've got it's got like an integrated drum machine. It's got integrated bass as well. I never really use it obviously because just you play the bass guitar for stuff. And then you could literally kind of record that. It's got the metronome and everything on it. There's like effects and everything for putting in through the guitar. And then obviously you've got like a kind of CD-ROM bit as well for like literally burning it onto CD. So like throughout, like kind of from I was like 16, I've been kind of playing about with this thing for ages. And then like there was kind of eventually kind of a time in life where I kind of just got a bit disillusioned with music, to be honest. And then like I'd like just lay in my room collecting dust for years. And I never kind of used it.
Was it a bit of like to do with more like the external things, like the kind of technology that went into it, rather than the music itself that you got disillusioned with?
No, I just got disillusioned with playing music. It wasn't necessarily that part of like the music I got. So I was like playing about with that all the time and like recording stuff and doing different things. Just the music in general, I just kind of got fed up of.
Yeah, so you kind of not lost a bit of love for it, but maybe
basically
lost a bit of love for it
Yeah,
temporarily.
you get caught up in life, though.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Like,
So
kind of for someone to play guitar every day and everything like that, it was a case of like it could be like 5-6 months and I hadn't picked the thing up or even looked at it, kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
I'm definitely not as like kind of fast or as good as I used to be when I was a teenager. Because like as I said, from like 14 till about 17, I was playing it kind of every day, kind of all the time. Probably when I was 17, a little less, but from 14 to like 16 and a half, definitely.
Mm-hmm.
It was like hours and hours upon end playing it.
What made you get back into it?
It's a difficult question. Probably when the way small talk started, because it was usually kind of just jamming and everything like that. So by the time I was about 17, I was kind of fed up and everything like that. And then like about a year later, I kind of my music music taste had changed. So it was like instead of kind of listening to like a lot of kind of heavy metal and stuff, like because that's what it was. It was like Killswitch Engage, Terra, Sepultura, Machine Head, different things like that I was kind of listening to.
Mm-hmm.
Like it then started kind of it went all roundabout in itself, and like I was saying, like how my father used to listen to like Kinks and David Bowie and things like that. Like when I was kind of like growing up, like I'd basically listened to all that too much as a youth, like Oasis and everything. To Stone Roses I'd listened to way too much when I was a youth, and it's like can't listen to that anymore. So I'd listen to like kind of a lot of rock, Nirvana, Foo Fighters, Guns N' Roses, all like kind of usual bands you'd listen to. And like in high school, kind of when you're into rock music, like all that kind of stuff was at the forefront. Then it started kind of progressing on to kind of heavier stuff and things like that. And then I'd kind of obviously, like I was saying, I got fed up. I don't know why, I just did get kind of fed up of listening to all the time. And I remember, like I think it was like MTV2 it was called at the time, watching like TV, and it was like Libertines had come on. And it was like I actually kind of like I didn't mind them anyway, but like it started like it was like literally like about like an hour's worth of their songs. I was like listening to lyrics and it's like this is actually genius. And that was like where I really kind of fell in love with like Pete Doherty and like his lyric writing, like musically, like guitar wise, like my favorite guitarist Steve Vai. Never gonna be Pete Doherty. Like he's a good guitarist, but he's not like kind of into like that. He's not in that spectrum of guitar, but he never would be. But then again, Steve Vai couldn't write lyrics like Pete Doherty does either.
Was it? I don't want to use the word intimidating, but was it quite almost confusing because like we're approach a period in our lives when we're teenagers and that where we kind of think nothing's ever going to change and we don't want it to change, right? Like especially when you get so used to like going to school and having like this kind of routine.
I could wait for that to end.
And then when it does end though, like it's all kind of like different in that, and people do change right as they grow up. Not some for better, some for worse, and whatever. But like along with that, like tastes and stuff can change. Yeah. And I think it's quite a. I might be kind of going overboard here, but it can be probably quite an intense thing for people to like almost battle themselves. Like, why do I not like this anymore, but I like that? Do you know what I mean?
I think it was just. I think it's the whole idea. Can I? Like if you've got a favourite song, if you had it on repeat for so long, you would just get fed up of it, kind of thing.
You almost build like a tolerance level
Yeah,
to it.
so it was like that, and it was like
Oh, rinsing.
Yeah.
it's well and truly rinsed. That's what happened.
There's no moisture left in that song left.
Nah, just cooked it.
Believe me, I've cooked so many tunes.
But no, I think that's pretty much what happened for me. And it was like kind of, so obviously the Foo Fighters was like kind of a band that would, like me and Guy Dazzy would jam, and then like you go to that, and then I started kind of playing songs like that, and it was like I started kind of going back down the kind of indie route again, and it's like Arctic Monkeys, like that's. When you listen to their lyrics, it's like that's so cryptic, and the good thing about it being cryptic is the idea that kind of it's so. I'm saying it's so vague. It's like so many people could like relate to a song because it's not like one specific.
It can be
small
interpreted
thing.
differently.
People can interpret it differently. Like Foo Fighters, Everlong, like Dave Grohl says, like that's one of the songs that everybody kind of feels something from and everything like that. And it's like it's got absolutely nothing to do with like what he had put into it, kind of thing, but everybody else seems to feel something from it, and they've got their own kind of way of interpreting that song. And that was where like the Arctic Monkeys, it was like their lyrics came out like so vague and everything like that that like people could interpret it, and their lyrics, like I was saying, were so cryptic that everything kind of came out that way. But at the same time, it told a story, kind of thing.
Yeah, I also think we mentioned the song Everlong. That's got to be like one of the best instrumentals I've ever heard in my life as well. I still go back to that song like. That is one song I know we're talking about, like rinsing and drying the moisture out of it. I think it's like Overcooked or something in my Spotify library. Do you know what I mean?
You're gonna learn a song in drop D. That's the tune.
I think that's what everybody does first in drop D, isn't it?
Of course.
It's either that or Velvet Revolver, Sliver or something. I think.
Aye.
One of the two.
I always remember like in school, a lot of people. I think this was just because it was quite. I don't want to say straightforward and disrespect anyone, but. Smoke on the Water was always one that I used to hear people play on the guitar and like the back of the music room.
About, like, it was wasn't really one that I ever kind of heard anybody kind of start playing. I think the one that everybody started playing was like "Come As You Are" riff to Nirvana.
Yeah.
I see the people in my music class. It was "Smoke on the Water."
Was it?
I don't know if anybody would have been able to figure out that Nirvana.
bum, 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 bum. I think I come across that quicker than I would "Smoke on the Water" chords. At least it's just like a one note kind of thing for Nirvana.
No, if you're playing "Smoke on the Water" with one.
I would one string. Let's do the bass notes.
So you get into songwriting, right? And I'd imagine you're kind of going into this almost blind, right? Because like you said, someone said that you should start doing this.
As a bat.
Yeah, like I had absolutely no kind of experience of this.
Cool.
So tell me about like that kind of early experience of, because you're basically with a blank canvas to start with, right? And you're kind of think, right, I need to have maybe like a kind of story behind this, and then kind of develop it from there.
Well, I was playing chords on a guitar. I was just messing about, and I didn't really know what I was doing. It's completely different to how I write now. See, a lot of people will say, "Oh, you just sit in front of the TV with a guitar and just play chords, and someone will hit you." Sometimes it happens that way, but not very often for me. When I wrote the first song I ever wrote, I remember it was really like a doom and gloom sort of tune, because I didn't know what I was doing, and I didn't know what genre I really wanted to pursue. I knew it was rock and roll, but I didn't know what area of that I wanted to do. So I wrote the song, and I think the first ever that I played it to you and I played it to Dazzy, remember, we were out in the car.
Yeah.
And Dazzy was like, "Holy shit, you can actually sing." He didn't know, right?
No one had heard you sing
Nobody
before.
knew, right? And anyway.
I had, but like nobody else had really heard you singing anything before.
And he goes, "The song's all right," he says, "but arrangement's terrible." I was like, "Aye, no, 100% it's terrible."
I imagine you were like on cloud nine and just came down with a big slump of that kind of little criticism at the end.
At the end of the day, I knew the song was even then, right, it was my first song, and it actually sounded all right, but yeah, I was going, "That's fucking shit, man. It's terrible." But then it was just like the arrangement was just a little bit off. There was maybe an extra verse that didn't need to be there. Do you know what I mean? And then I could have just hit like a bridge or something in there and it would have been fine. But yeah, it's totally different to how I do it now.
Was there almost an element when you started of trying to make a song good rather than trying to make a song that you wanted to make?
Very much.
I think that can, like we said, because like
It's dangerous territory. That
yeah, it's like you kind of go into something, and even like looking back and things, I can kind of relate to what you're saying about how, you know, I don't like this, and because I was saying to the filmmaker that I had on recently that I think whoever's made the best like music, films, whatever it will be in history, if you show them that film back, there's probably something they'll pick out and be like, I could have done something better with that. And like this is after going to like all the awards, people recognize it around the world, becomes like a iconic culturally for some people and whatnot. I think it can be a blessing and a curse, right, being a perfectionist, because obviously, you know, you revise what you've done and whatever, and make adjustments accordingly and whatever, but it can also have that kind of paranoia effect to you, right? Like you don't know when to release it, like you said, just because it's like you're thinking about it, it's like, oh, this can be better, it can be better, it can be better.
Yeah. You remember that filmmaker guy? It's like kind of seen him when he was on and everything like that. And obviously there was the kind of thing for his Facebook. And on it, it's like, never seen this guy before. It's like kind of quite interesting filmmaker from Aussie and everything like that. Because like then I looked at it, it's like on his Facebook, it's showing a picture of his front garden. It's like, I know that. And I looked again, it's like, that's like literally 20 yards from my house. From my front door to his front door is about 25, 30 yards away. It's like, I've never seen this guy before.
Small world, man.
It's like, why have I never seen this guy before?
Out filmmaking, I would imagine.
Like just like hermit and don't leave the house one. You never know.
Well,
when you're on about perfection, though, I mean, it's seriously, it's like I wrote the first ever song I wrote that I went wow was a song called "Take You for a Ride," and that's when I went, okay, it's rock and roll. This is just happening now. Because it was almost as though I just discovered fire when I wrote that song.
Caveman.
Aye. And then, as you say, you sort of want to keep perfecting it, and Jamie, I think even Jamie had to say, aye, but it's fine, just leave it.
Yeah, I think it was like, we were at it for hours. Like I genuinely remember that day, clear as day. I remember going around your house and like kind of saying, let's go a couple of tunes with record. So recorded one. It was like an acoustic. It's actually one of my favourite ones he's recorded. Then we've done this one. It was like chalk and cheese, like night and day, kind of between the two differences. Like this is pretty cool. It was just like the chords and the vocals was laid down. It's like he basically says to me, it's like kind of. So I just says to you, do I get free reign over this? Like, go and see what you can do with this then. And it was like, okay. And so like, kind of tried different things. I was playing about, like, went back to my house with like, that studio thing I was on about. I like played about kind of tune like through different effects and everything on it, and doing things, and I was like I was basically overcomplicating it, and then I just came up with like a simple riff to it that couldn't have been easier. No. Just pentatonic minor, and it was like it's like that sounds pretty catchy actually. And I remember kind of giving you a shout later on. It was about, I think we'd done that like mid morning kind of time, and I gave you a shout like night time. I think you came around and picked me up. Stick it in the car. I was like, right, let's go spin and listen to this. And it was like, that was like really, that was like a light bulb moment. That wasn't
sticks it on. I'm like, fucking hell, has he done that? And he goes out and he showed me, and I was like, Jesus Christ, it was that easy.
That's crazy that it's literally the simplest of things that they make it click after
simple
all that kind of thinking.
It's, I mean, sometimes certain songs do need a kick in the arse, but see, a lot of songs that I've written. You know, I've written in 10, 20 minutes. Yeah. And these are songs that you'd think took a long time to write.
I remember, was it Noel Gallagher said that he wrote Live Forever or Champagne Supernova was like in like 25 minutes.
They were having a Chinese or something, wasn't it?
I think they were having a chippy and he went in the room and he wrote Supersonic.
Yeah, that's what it was.
Before they had finished.
Straight after a king rib supper.
Crazy.
Yeah, I mean, and it's mental because like that. So I mean, Live Forever will live forever, right? In a way, right? Like in terms of it being an immortal piece of music. So it's crazy, like, because you would imagine, like we were just saying, there's like a process that you think it's going to be like, oh, it needs to be this long and that, and then literally it just, you know, clicks and it just goes like that, like, you know, learning to ride a bike, you know, that kind of analogy.
Aye, it was just when I wrote Take It for a Ride, I was just like, how the fuck have I done that? I just sort of just like I was like, whoa, okay, right, fine. I was straight on the blower to him. I was like, listen to this.
Is it like a something that you felt like if you could bottle it and just save it, that you would, if you know what I mean?
Well, it's funny because I've got like a wee vault, and it's like a vault. I've got that many songs, and I can't remember who I was speaking to, and I'd only been writing for so long, and they're like, how many songs you got now? I was like, about 80. And like,
80? Wow.
I was like, about 80, but I was like, 10 of them were good.
Right, aye.
But that's what I'm saying, but you know, many of them might be alright, do you know what I mean? But
That's my kind of constant argument with you. It's like kind of the 10 you think are good, the other people might think that 10 are rubbish, but the other 70 are great, kind of thing, you know.
I think like it's kind of. I remember seeing a comedian talking about writing jokes and that, and like you were saying, like maybe he would write like 150, and like 25 would make it. Do you know what I
They
mean?
make a cut, yeah.
But like almost having the quantity makes you identify the quality, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it's weird. It's weird the way it works, but I think different people write different ways, and their methods are different. There's no right method. No method is right. Everybody's got different tastes in music. Everybody's totally different. I mean, Jamie will probably write
totally different for you.
To me.
I do, yeah. I would kind of, because I study music obviously at school and everything like that, I would kind of go in and think like kind of academically about chord structures and everything like that. Whereas I think he would just like put the chords together and say, that sounds rubbish, that sounds good, kind of thing, that sounds better.
Yeah, and then just go, how can I tar this up with mega lyrics?
Yeah.
Yeah, and then like I usually kind of lyric wise, I always enjoyed writing songs that kind of told a story, like beginning, middle, and end, an idea. Whereas yours is kind of totally different, really.
It's all out of
Some of your songs are like that, to be fair. Some of your songs kind of tell a story.
Yeah,
Other ones just generally exacerbate life.
Yeah, going out and getting absolute
Aye, rattlers than
things
that.
like that. There's a lot. I mean, I don't know. I think there was like one of the songs I wrote, really upbeat song, and I might change the lyrics, but it's sort of in that vault when it's like all done. But
Everything else.
and it's like I woke up. Snapchat stories. What was it? 100 seconds. Oh no. Just know when you're absolute away with it.
Oh, what was it?
I think it's Never Stay Where You Are.
100 seconds, overload notes, the way we rock and roll.
That's what I think that's what it is. And do you know, like, remember when Snapchat had it had like seconds count, like a countdown.
Aye.
And it was like 100 seconds. So that, if it's like 100 seconds, and you know you were absolutely away with it.
Yeah, you're like,
because
what book of secrets am I about to open here?
Jack Daniels in the bar didn't think we drank that much.
Yeah, and then you just wake up in the morning and go, what have I done?
Yeah.
And you start flicking through them and you go, oh no.
That's like the hangover on top of the hangover. like it's just being there in like a.
That's kicking the man when he's down. That's what it is.
That's what it is. But then I wrote that song. I must have wrote that song hangover or something because, well, I think that's the lyrics sort of speak for themselves. But
That's probably from my side out, because I kind of tend to get free rein with writing some of the kind of lead stuff and the kind of general riffs and the hook lines and everything like that. Like, obviously, the main hook is the way we rock and roll and the way that it's sung and everything like that, and it is the main. That's what draws you into the song. And like kind of, I enjoy like the free rein I get to kind of write a riff over the top of that. Maybe take about 5 or 6 attempts, like that, snare right. Like, kinda, it's good that we're there to kind of push each other to do something better.
it's like when you think
Better.
no.
No.
Changes it.
Why you tune it down to C, Jamie?
It's good
like
to have like
some-
another opinion as well, though, right? Because if you just become, encapsulated in your own kind of thinking, then you're never going to grow as a person, right?
No.
And whatever you do.
No, I mean, at the end of the day, like, you can't butcher your own song and you can't let anyone else butcher it either because... And then again, it's going back to the perfectionist because you don't know what's good and you don't know what isn't.
No, I think we were lucky with songs like Take It For A Ride. It was like...
I wrote it self.
Basically, because it was the way we rock and roll. I think it was a few attempts I did that, trying to get that. When I nailed it down, I think I done pretty well with lead parts, to be fair.
Yeah.
The solo and everything. Never Stay Where You Are. I think that's one we would need to revisit.
I think, these songs just need mega mixes, to be honest. I mean, get a great demo down and then just send it away. Get somebody to do what they can with it. I mean, we're probably going to go through a couple of engineers to do that, but I don't care. I just want to get the song.
Yeah,
I just
especially
want to get it right, do you know what I mean?
no matter what and when you release, it's always going to be a jump into the unknown, right? Because you can have your own opinions on your song, but you're never going to be able to gauge, and everyone's going to view it differently, right? Because music is such a subjective thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, so is it quite cool seeing like a song come together from like kind of, like you say, you start off with a beat and then the lyrics come onto it and then so on and so forth?
It's strange, really, isn't it?
Well, this is when I was saying to you about the way I write now. It's way different to what I used to write, how I used to do it. When I'm like it's like my brain's like a wee receiver thing. It's like you can switch it on, but you can't switch it off. And my brain goes away and does something, and all of a sudden I could be at McDonald's drive-through, and it's like okay, where did that come from? And I'm hearing the whole song in here. So I'm hearing a melody, I'm hearing the guitar, I'm hearing the bass, I'm hearing the drums, I'm hearing if there's keys, back and forth, and I'm hearing the song already done. So the main thing is to go to the studio and make that come out the speaker, so what you can hear. It's quite difficult to do that.
Transferring it from your mind to actual kind of physical form in a way.
Pretty much.
Grab your phone and start humming everything into it. Try and catch it.
I was actually at the McDonald's drive-through, and the lady's like, "Oh, what you wanting?" And I'm like, into the phone like 2 seconds. I'm singing this melody.
About to make a massive music career over here.
And but like no, because you really do not know when.
Exactly.
It's
like, and the moment will pass, right? And was there anything that kind of sparked, like, you know how you say that the way that your writing's changed, and I'd imagine it's probably changed over a progressive period of time, but can you remember anything that kind of, like, you can put like a marker next to, like, oh, like, this is different from what I did from starting off?
I don't know. I was sitting I think I was in a bath, and it's like I just felt, I don't know, I just wrote better songs there. I wasn't literally in the bath with a pen and paper, but I would like, you know,
drop it.
I'd put the idea into my phone and then go back.
Someone get a hairdryer out.
Aye. But no, like I'd go back and revisit it once, you know, I'd put it into my phone, and then after that I'd go grab a guitar and, you know, start. And when you're humming it into your phone, it's more like just like you're mumbling it, and there's some lyrics in there maybe. It's just the melody you're after, and then you can build the song around that. Really.
So what goes into like the recording phase of it all, and building, creating a song, if you will?
The way that it's all kind of changed now. In all fairness, your stuff probably would have been out by now, but like,
is it more complicated now or more simplified?
Well, it's complicated for me. So for my 30th birthday, I'd got a MacBook Air off my mum and dad, because I was wanting to kind of progress with the times for recording music. So I'd done that, and I'd downloaded Logic Pro. Other different recording platforms are available. Yeah, but yeah,
allegedly.
This is no sponsor.
I downloaded Logic Pro 10, and it was like,
if you would like to sponsor us,
anyone's welcome.
No, it was hard enough to get to grips with this machine. It's got all these buttons, and then you've got like a kind of screen, and then it's like more buttons inside the screen, and it was just like kind of, it's like jumping at the frying pan and going straight in the fire, if you know what I mean, because like there's so much more depth in there. Don't get me wrong, there's a lot of stuff that makes it a lot more user friendly. Like if you kind of play something out of time, it'll like, instead of having to go and do a take again, then what it'll do is it'll pull it in line for you. And different things, but it's taken a lot of time to actually, I think I had like 11 weeks like furlough last year, and like I'd spent a lot of time on that, as well as doing kind of other things and everything, and like that's not enough time to get to grips with it. So
how was the we'll leave out this year's lockdown, we'll just say that never happened, but the first like full on draconian like stay at home, dinna go outside your garden, otherwise you're getting battered kind of message that
so last year never happened.
No, well,
I'm only 25.
I would imagine you've had a lot of time to think about songwriting and stuff like that.
I've got to be honest with you, I was struggling mentally. I had a lot of anxiety issues.
Yeah, mate.
I never picked a guitar up for quite a while. I didn't write in. I mean, as I said, when I was lying in my bed just watching TV, I had songs coming in and out of my head all day.
Yeah.
And I never wrote them.
And that was probably contributing to like the way you were feeling, like, oh, I've just let that go.
Just let that go. And I'm telling you, loads of them were very, very good. So it's kind of depressing to know that.
The number one hit's gone.
Yeah. I think because it was like, what was it like? You know, we're not talking. This is not about coronavirus, but we'll talk about it briefly. They said it was going to be 3 weeks, right? And then obviously it wasn't. And I think everyone was kind of maybe of the mindset of like, oh well, 3 weeks be like a holiday, right? As bad as that sounds, but then as soon as it wasn't that, you know, like for me personally, like my gym had got shut down and that, and I was trying to keep my momentum up and stuff, and then the next thing you know, like the only thing that was open was takeaways, and I was watching the news, so it was getting poison in both ends. You know what I mean? But yeah, but well, hopefully we're yeah, we'll leave that there. But
starting off for me, it was like 3-week lockdown. It's like, all right, there was jobs to get done about the house and everything like that. And then like after like the first week lockdown, the boss is like, it's gonna be another 3 weeks on top of that. It's like 6 weeks to go out. So I've got all these jobs to do in the house. Like just spread them out then. And 3 weeks turned into like it's like it was 7. He says I was an extra week on. It's like it's gonna be another few weeks. So like I'd like done everything by this point. I think I had 2 weeks left. So I just smashed Red Dead Redemption. Like that's actually what I did. Like it was like the last 2 weeks, and then I went back to work. It was like absolutely knackered. Like kind of like doing all this like manual labor and everything. I've just like slothed it for the past 2 weeks in front of a TV playing the PlayStation.
I think like even like stuff like Zoom calls and stuff like that, it just didn't do it for me. I didn't feel like I was socialising, you know what I mean? I still felt like I was just being on the internet rather than actually speaking to people, you know?
It was a bit kind of like my mum and dad, like kind of they just live like literally around the corner from me, so kind of was seeing them more or less on a daily basis. My mother was a renal patient; she had a kidney transplant, so she was one of the people. She was one of the people who was shielding, and my dad was furloughed. He's in the building trade, so he was furloughed for ages. Yeah. So like I don't think him and my mum went back to work until like November last year, and then my mother was off as of like December when everything was shut down again, and there was after Christmas like there was still people furloughed again because like the building sites weren't quite up and running and everything because everything that had happened after Christmas. So my dad was like furloughed again. We'd got a puppy just before Christmas, so like they were looking after her whilst we were back at work anyway. So it was well timed if anything else.
Oh, I remember the guy that finished off this place, Paul Young.
Paul Young?
Yeah.
One of my best pals.
He finished off the door, and this was about August time, and I think he'd only been back to work 2 weeks. Do you know what I mean? Like, I was like, what?
He did say he was over there.
But we'll get back to the music. We're branching off into coronavirus.
Get out of COVID again.
It's hard now, though, isn't it?
I know, it's just because it's such a...
It's taken over everything.
Pretty much. It's like the new version of politics, and politics hasn't even died from it. It's just politics and COVID are into this mutant thing now. But anyway, so I'd imagine you benefit from having a guy like Jamie helping you out and stuff like that, because obviously when, like you said, when you went into this, you were in, going in blind basically, and Jamie's got quite a bit of experience. And one thing that you mentioned, Jamie, was you were in a band called Small Talk.
Yeah, that was 2009 circa. 2008, something like that.
So how did that come about? Was it you and like friends and that kind of started it, or
like there was loads of kind of different lineups and everything like that. The way it kind of started was I started jamming with like probably like my longest serving friend, a guy Dazzy Main. He like literally just used to, like that guy I was on about. It was the filmmaker.
Aye, Sean.
Like, where he stays, like there's like a kind of, he stays at row houses at 3, the middle one there. That's where Dazzy used to stay, like when we were kids. So I've known him since I was like 3-4 years old.
Very creative neighbourhood as it started out to be.
Here, so yeah. So yeah, Dazzy was like, I'd known Dazzy like for years. Then we were back at school, and like kind of we were different years. He had also went to Highfield, I went to St Gerardines, so like I'd only ever kind of see him out with school kind of thing. And then like, he had moved over to this side of the town. He stays just up in Cooler. He used to stay up in Coolerbank Road, but so I'd got in contact with him because I was like wanting to kind of start playing music again, and I knew it was a kind of similar interest in music and everything anyway. We were friends anyway, so kind of I always kind of singer rhythm guitarist. So the idea was kind of carry on with that, and then he would be kind of lead guitar, and then we're like looking for a drummer. Dazzy's Christian, so there's a couple of like kind of Baptist church he goes to. It's like obviously a big band and everything like that. Everybody's like there's loads of musicians and everything through that. So it was a guy from Lossy had ended up becoming our drummer, a guy Danny Robinson. I believe he stays in Edinburgh now. I've not seen him in ages. I really need to catch up with him and see how he's doing. He was our drummer, and then with a few kind of different people that kind of picking like into like the bass guitar. There's a guy I'm friendly with. I served my time as an apprentice mechanic at Arnold Clark in Elgin. There was a guy who was in his final year. I was training when I was in my first year. He is in Aberdeen now. He actually has a recording studio called Derange. He had after he had finished serving his time, he then went and studied music and production and everything through in Aberdeen. And he came out and him and his mate that he played in a band with, they'd started up the record studio. So that was like kind of like Dazzy's brother Callum as well. He would kind of sometimes fill in bass, but the core kind of members was just me and Dazzy main. So it was like kind of we would always kind of jam together and everything like that, hang out. So it was like kind of that was how Small Talk kind of basically started. So we kind of done loads of like Libertines, Foo Fighters, Art Monkeys, just general kind of songs like that.
Is that when like you were full back into music again? Like you were
Yeah, that
saying
was
you'd
when I
heard
was
to the
kind of
Libertines?
that was what kind of drawn me back into it.
Were you like gigging and stuff like that as well?
Yeah, kind of playing different kind of places and everything like that. It was like kind of, I think the kind of main one we kind of done like biggest crowd was probably the very first Wall of Rock that was on. That was not yesterday. That must be about 10 years ago.
I can't remember why they stopped that again. Was it something to do with the wall caving in?
I think it was the wall caving in.
Oh, that was pretty dangerous though, wasn't it?
It was pretty grim, to be honest. So like the biggest gig, like the biggest crowd, 'cause it was massive. We played was there, and it was like I can remember like kind of like nobody like we weren't as big as like other bands that was gonna play later on that night, but like it's gonna sound so arrogant. We actually were good. We were very tight. We could play all the songs. It was like bands like The View. We like kind of done that. We done Ocean Colour Scene. Even like Pink Floyd, Another Brick in the Wall, because it was Wall of Rocks at the wall. That was kind of the whole idea. We opened with that. And I think the song we finished with was Libertines Can't Stand Me Now, because that tended to be the song we always ended on. Which is actually, for two guitar parts, actually quite an intricate song to play for timing wise and everything like that.
Yeah.
So it's quite impressive. And then you sing at the same time as well, which doesn't make it any easier for myself. So yeah, that was kind of how Small Talk kind of started. And then like Dazzy went away to uni and things that kind of faded again. And then like the only kind of thing that was really piquing my musical interest was like obviously working alongside
Kinda
Jamie.
Normal life getting in the way of things again. Normal life. Well, you know, work, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
just the mundane. But no, then I think it was 2000 when did I get engaged? 2017. Just like summer 2017, a guy from also Graham Lennon, he had been starting up a band, and I think things weren't working out. Like kind of like people like different musicians coming and going and things like that. And it was to play in pubs and everything like that. So something I'd always kind of wanted to do, because it was never like kind of proper pub gigs or anything we played. But the problem with playing pub gigs is like the Steamboat stage is big enough for a drum kit and that's it. So like,
it's very cramped to the best of
it's
times.
tiny. It's ridiculous. But like, so we kind of, the idea was he would have himself singing and playing rhythm guitar. He needed a lead guitarist, and he was like looking for a bassist or a keyboard player. So like kind of, I basically. Well, actually, my father had offered me to go and play guitar. To be fair, it's like, hi, I'll do whatever, and about. Like, kind of see, like, kind of, I didn't think anything hard was going to be getting played anyway. Then, like, kind of came with like Toto, Hold the Line. It's like that's a ridiculous solo. Like, I have to go all the way back to like I was 16, 17, like speeds again, like kind of thing. So, like, kind of started playing there with that, but that's obviously just like it's just a cover band that plays in kind of bars and everything like that. It's never like kind of.
You improved a lot though.
I know. And the choice.
I noticed a big difference. Yeah.
It's like playing like kind of like once a week for about 20 minutes. And then it changed to about like every night for about 3 years after work. No choice but to do it. It's like I can't mind how to play like any of this kind of things. Going from the kind of alternate picking like kind of like literally shredding to like kind of barely being able to like play an octave chord slid up and things like that. It was like kind of it was getting poor, but like it. After Small Talk, I like kind of stopped playing, like, and then just like stopped kind of jamming with Dazzy. It was like it'd been a good like 4 or 5 years since I'd properly kind of played and everything like that. So that was like the longest period I would say I was out of music. And then kind of going up, even like literally having the thing on my back over me, like standing for an hour. It was like, this is agony. Just holding on to the guitar for so long. It became just so alien to me.
Do you think you've been good for each other in terms of helping Jamie out with like his songwriting and trying to release music, and that is getting you back into music, and obviously the experience that he brings from his past experience helps you out?
That's awful. No, I have to say.
Oh well, that's the end of the show, guys. See you later.
No, I think that like no, I would say that kind of the good thing about it was like I was always interested in like the kind of production things and everything like that. So that was why I'd kind of initially offered in the first place. Like I didn't need to get a record studio. I've got like all this kind of crap that I can do it with, kind of thing. And then it was a good laugh kind of doing everything like that. It's like it'd be good to record and get the blooper reel. It's like kind of like kind of 3 like 6.5.
Yeah.
It's like forgetting a cue and like that.
Just like I'm putting on a metronome. I don't want one.
It's like you're making
It's like a 3-year-old in the middle of the supermarket. Tantrums and that.
Aye.
It's gonna be that all top of the Argos catalogue with a drumstick
You know
on
what
it
was
too.
funny though? It was just like the man, and all of a sudden it was just like it just clicked, and everything was just like, because I'd never recorded before.
No, timing was awful to start
Timing
with.
was like way off. There's me thinking, can I be off? I play guitar all the time.
Yeah.
It's like, little did I know.
Speeding up and then slowing down and everything like that. It's like, nah, it's like you need to hit a click track.
Jamie's sitting there going, what are you doing?
Do you feel like being involved in music is? It feels from the outside looking in that you have to be quite ruthless to be at it. In terms of, like you said, you don't want someone. Ultimately the song is yours when you're putting it out there, but at the same time, if his performance is off, you have to say to him, because you can't just be like, "Oh no, that's great," because it's gonna get found out down the line.
We're near there, kind of. It's none of it's personal like that though. It's like, okay, so it's like, no, you can do that better.
Yeah,
it's like give it a time where we need it again. It's like it's no. The idea is like,
it's not like
it's not just my standards is high. It's your standards are high as well. So I'm there too.
Does that improve you both because your standards
Yeah,
are so high?
so, yeah.
I would say so. I would say so, definitely.
I think we're all like the bands I've played in, even like through school and everything like that. Like kind of like when it came to like talented musicians, they were all like kind of like a guy I used to play with, Scott Hackett, like his lead guitar, like most of the bands that I was kind of playing with in school. And his like he had played violin to start with, so I think that was probably would had something to do with like how you kind of like obviously kind of hands going up down like a kind of fretboard idea. But he was like kind of seriously talented guy who was like late years ahead of me very quickly kind of thing. And I was like playing guitar like about 6-7 months before he'd even started. And it was like just like they were hanging out one night, like kind of come in my house, like come in my room, and so just like pick up a guitar and start playing things. Like I can't even play that. It's like you don't even have a guitar and I can't play that kind of thing. And there was like loads of folk. It was in my year, like people that are still like in Lossy, a guy like Craig Taylor, Kev Main. They were both great guitarists. Both played bass as well, really well. And it's like another guy, Ray Leslie. I think he stays in Inverness now. Another kind of really talented guitarist. That was someone that kind of started playing after me. But I think like a lot of it is to do with like, there will be natural talents in it. Like some people kind of get along better than others, but like these people obviously kind of put a lot of effort into how good they became and everything as well. Another guy, Andrew Lark, as well. Like I've seen him, like he plays like in a lot of different styles and everything. And like he's another guy that can obviously, like I actually seen like kind of literally learning to play guitar. Like I even like showing him how to play like, kind of a few bits and bobs and everything when he first started out. And it's strange to see like kind of like how I was left behind and how they all became so much better than me kind of thing.
It's funny though, when Jamie came over to jam with me for the first time, and I hadn't been playing all that long, so I wasn't all that good, but I was getting there. And he just started busting out all these tunes, and I'm like, what you do? How you doing that? Like, I had no idea, and I didn't know how good he was, but he was sitting there telling you that he probably wasn't good at that point because he wasn't playing as much.
There's a famous quote: "Comparison will take confidence from anyone." Right? If you like I was listening back to one. I'm not vain or anything, but I was listening back to one of my podcasts, right, and I was hearing myself go and I was like getting really bothered about it. But I was like, okay, you're comparing yourself to people that you listen to that have been doing this for years on end and that, and you're going to get better as you go along in that. And I think it's kind of like self-inflicted torture when you start doing that to yourself, if you know what I mean. But just before we move on to my next question, I wanted to kind of ask you about the whole kind of reality TV side to music in terms of shows like, like talent shows and all that.
Can't be done with any reality TV in general.
Yeah. I don't watch them, but I am aware of them.
I think it sort of ruins some things for musicians, as in like rock and roll musicians. You're no good to X Factor in that unless you want to be a pop musician.
Yeah, exactly.
Really, and even that,
you've got to look a certain way as well, right?
Aye, even pop musicians these days. What are pop musicians these days?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
See, back in the day, pop music was a mix of everything. So everything that was popular. Yeah. Nowadays, you've got to have a number in your name, and you sort of have to put a rap in the middle of the song, and that. Yeah. It's like, I got 20 songs out of maybe the iTunes top 20. You know what I mean? Like 20 songs, I'll maybe like one.
I remember. I would imagine.
More than me, to be fair. I'm totally honest.
But
So
yeah,
what's to pick us up for X Factor? We're sellouts. We're good to go. But I was listening to Richard Ashcroft, the guy who used to be the lead singer in the Verve and stuff like that.
I love him, man. He's great.
And he was talking about like a lot of the kind of commercialization of what we were just talking about in terms of like, you know, you've got to have this, you've got to have that, and that's like just play music. Do you know what I mean? Like what's the point?
I mean, there's someone that's sitting behind a desk, right, that has no experience in music whatsoever.
Are judging people
and they're
on
sitting
music,
there, and they're sitting there going, "Nah, you can't sing."
like that's crazy. Like
It's pretty bad when Cheryl Cole's telling somebody they can't sing, isn't it?
When's the last time you watched X Factor, by the way?
Well, okay,
Cheryl Cole's not been in there for a bit.
But she's the one that I remember that really can't sing.
Ah, you're like, no, but there was like Mel B or something. I think she was on she was on the American one, and I think it was American. I can't remember. But there was this guy that sang on the subways, whatever in America. Do you know the
busks and the subways,
tubes,
the tubes.
The tubes and that, right? And this guy would sing that Elvis melody, right? And I was like, holy shit, this guy's like, I was watching the videos before he was even on the X Factor, and then I noticed on YouTube he went on to X Factor and decided to get a shot, and he'd been, you know, busking there for 40 years. This guy's one of the best singers I've ever heard.
Yeah.
And she was like, "Oh no, I don't think you're ready."
What?
Simon Cowell looked at her in disgust and went, "That's real music. What you were listening to backstage is just utter garbage."
Yeah, and plus, like, you're not ready. He's been busking on the street for 40
You're not
years.
ready. He's got like what 30 years, 20 odd years experience,
and however many thousand million views on YouTube after like his different stuff and everything like that.
But do you know what I couldn't get up? I couldn't understand that he was just incredible. Like he was incredible. Like one of the best singers I've ever heard. Like he's great.
I think it shows the power of like record labels and stuff like that as well when they commercialize it. Like I always remember I watched the Stone Roses documentary, and there's a bit where what's the Stone Roses guitar? John Squire, something to do with like they were trying to release their second album and the record label was being a bit iffy about it and that, so they went over like cans of paint and absolutely tanned the guy's house with it and clarted him in the process. And I kind of like that kind of rebellion of it, right? Because
anarchy.
all the stuff that we're talking about in terms of the commercialization and that of music and what they want these people to be, it's to fund big business, right? It's nothing to do with like art or anything like that.
That has to be Manny's idea. But no, you're right. I mean, I think it's like if the face fits.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And I'm not gonna lie. When I was about 16, I had to go on X Factor just to try it.
Well, it's kind of targeted at like a young demographic as well, right?
Yeah.
And it can be quite an unhealthy thing, especially when you see like people like breaking down in tears because they've been voted off. And it's like, this isn't the end of the world. You can go elsewhere.
Do any of you boys remember seeing that thing? And it was like it was Ollie Murs, and he read out the wrong person. What does that say to you?
Murs can't read.
That's not just that. No, but he's got it in his ear. So it's like it's a fix. It's got to be a fix. It can't be real. It can't be.
It has to be manipulated for drama, right?
I think it's exactly. It's like you were saying about the Jeremy Kyle show. It's all. It's not.
I think the whole kind of thing, like for me with X Factor, was like you found that everybody went on and like had some kind of weird sob story and anything like that.
And then they just cue the emotional music.
I could have had a belter as well.
You're like anything like that, like just dog died, mate.
I would have won.
Yeah, they wouldn't have even had the finals. You just would have won in the audition room.
I was about to say I would have got the golden buzzer, but that's Brett's Got Talent.
They would have made. They wouldn't
even have bothered airing the show twice. They just put you on TV, Ken.
So there's no X Factor this year. We've already found the person. So
I think that was a bit that really. Sorry to interrupt. I think that was like really, like kind of gave me my complete disdain for reality TV was things like that, like things like Big Brother, and it just couldn't be done.
Yeah, and it's just
it was nonsense.
I don't think it's. I mean, it's kind of hard to say whether it's getting worse or not because I think people are kind of more drawn to the internet side of it now.
But do you know what gets me right? He's got, as I said about that guy that was busking for 40 years and he was brilliant. And then you've got the Kardashians that are how rich? For what?
Excuse me.
For what? But really though, do you know what I mean? Like,
and their dad defending O.J. Simpson.
Yeah.
Just it's just it's a crazy world. It really is.
Especially like even like the YouTube guys who've been doing the boxing and stuff like that. It's just like
Nah,
really weird. Do you know what I mean? Like,
I think I messaged you about that.
Yeah,
That's just terrible.
like he's fighting Floyd Mayweather and that. Like, and if anything, I was like, I don't know who I'm going to criticize more here because, I mean, I get it. Like, there's money, and I suppose I would probably do the same thing if I was in the position. But at the same time,
I
like,
would take a beating for a couple million.
yeah, exactly, right. And then I was
down in the first round.
I think it'd be more like watching Sky try and like make some kind of case, like, oh, but Logan Paul's like 6 foot, and it's like, yeah, but Floyd Mayweather's
nails,
like 40 years of boxing experience. That kind of counts for
something.
something.
Beating and everything.
Near him, he just the way he moves. He's like 200 million for what? Not even an hour.
Yeah, exactly. Like that's when he fought Conor McGregor. That was like Floyd's, ultimate fight in terms of I don't have to even speak here because this dude's going to do all the promotion for me.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean? Like,
what does my head in is though is you get all these boxers that are fighting their whole career to get to that
exactly
actual position.
It's like there's people that's like fought years and years to try and get their chance against Floyd Mayweather.
Money fight, their big shot.
And they're getting some YouTube guy getting it instead. I think that's
could literally do anything and make that sort of money. And like these, like the people that watch them are going to watch them do anything, So like, I mean, I suppose fair enough for them for fighting and that, but it just takes away from people that have like literally, like the kind of common ground with like combat sports is they say there's nothing else someone could do. That's when they go into these type of things, like they've got nothing else for them in life but this. Yeah, we're drifting off the music again. So I wanted to get to Murray's local scene, right? Because I feel like we've got so many kind of music acts and bands. Obviously, the Corona situation that's kind of put everything to a halt. But like you've got like I remember bands like Bad Actress won a competition in Inverness. You've got New Mode, obviously. The Roof have been on the go for ages as well. But there's obviously lots of like acts coming through as well as that and solo artists and that. So what are your thoughts as a collective on the local scene round here?
I think it's just you've got to know where to look.
Yeah.
I think it is what it is. I mean, if you know someone that's in a band, by all means, go support them, go and see what they've got. But if you really want a music scene, even it's not even the same down in Glasgow and that anymore. In Manchester, I mean, it's still there, but it's not what it was. And I think that's like that everywhere.
Yeah, I think.
And there was probably a better music scene in the 90s here than
Is now.
There's probably a lot of bands that we never even knew of, and they might have been absolutely brilliant because we were just kids, so we wouldn't have known.
Do you think like digitizing like music in terms of like things like Spotify, SoundCloud, and so on? Do you think it's a good thing in a way of people get their names out there, but it's a bad thing in terms of it actually kills like the kind of physical aspect of like music of going round? And
it's good and it's bad. It's good because anybody and everybody can get their stuff out there now, and you don't necessarily need a record deal.
Yeah.
Whereas you're taken away from everybody queuing up and buying records at the shop. Where back in the day, everybody would queue for hours and hours and hours just to get, I don't know, definitely maybe back in '94. Like, think about how many people were queuing out for that.
I think it's just like the kind of monetary side of it as well. Like, I don't know exactly what it is. Like, you get for every time that somebody plays your song on Spotify. I know it's like literally point something pence anyway. It's ridiculous. And like my kind of debatably my favourite band all time is a band called Enter Shikari. I've followed them since like 2006, and they were kind of like the kind of proper like guys who were in the trenches with it. They like literally bought an old post van, this old raft of an LDV from the postal service, and like literally toured the UK with it. They were the guys that like literally built a cult following and then done everything. They were denied record label. Nobody wanted to touch them or anything like that, so they thought, right, just stuff it. We'll just start our own record label and do it all ourselves. They came out with Ambush Reality, and they done everything on their own. And like kind of, if Spotify was around, I think when these guys were on the go for as talented and as much as I love them and their hardcore fan base love them, I don't know if they would have made it in that kind of times, in a modern time, because when they released Take to the Skies, their first album, people were out buying it, physically buying this like album for like 11, 12 quid, whatever it was.
I suppose it's like subconsciously makes it a more rare commodity to actually hear the music as well, right? Because obviously on Spotify, like, it's available to just everyone instantly whenever it's released, which can be a good thing, right? Because obviously people don't have to wait as long on that.
Well, you think about £10 a month for unlimited.
Yeah, exactly. I have Spotify. I've got it the same.
I've got it as well. I really can't.
Same. this podcast is on Spotify, so we're definitely
shamelessly dropping it in there.
We're definitely not saying anything bad about the company. It's a good thing, but
it is quite annoying though, because think about how much money was made in music all them years. People buying records, people can
also like deletes. Yeah, well, just what I was about to say. It also deletes like a bit of an experience from like modern day life, like you said, like getting in a bus and tour in the UK, and that's probably gone in terms of with this kind of stuff, right? Especially with other things now, like Zoom concerts and stuff like that, because people are so digitized and on the internet now that will kick off. But
TikTok.
Yeah, exactly.
TikTok's ruining music.
TikTok is just
Well, how long's a TikTok video last?
only about 20 seconds.
Something like that.
So like you need to like get like everything. You need to get like a hook of a song and everything within the first 20 seconds, so you can get your song on TikTok so everybody likes it. And like you only kind of look at like old songs, like you'd be like a minute and like a minute and a half into it, like the kind of the intro's not even finished.
I think it's also keeping like people's attention span, which is getting lower and lower each day. Like when I look at the analytics and that, like I think the average watch time or listen time on this on YouTube anyway is like 5 minutes, which obviously we're a lot of people, most people watch it for like the hour and that, but people that are not like subscribing or whatever, that coming from the outside, 3 minutes and they're gone again. And I think it's just the same with like everything now, right? It's how much content can we fit into a small space to get that person's attention, for them to leave something behind, like a like or something that like is what kind of the world almost revolves around.
I like can go a long way, but like, see, what was I gonna say? I think it's terrible the fact that I find myself doing this as well. Though, like, I'll be listening to an album and I'll be listening to a song. I can recognize a good song when I hear it, pretty much instantly. And I could put this song on and just change it, give it a chance. You know what I mean? I find myself doing that, and I hate that.
It's almost like algorithms and stuff like that are almost teaching you not to come out your comfort zone, right? Because everything you get recommended now is stuff that they're basing what you've watched or listened or whatever previously. So they're like, oh well, they're gonna like this. Whereas obviously, like as it used to be, like you might not like something to start with, or might not think you like something to start with, and then actually give it a chance. Yeah. And then it becomes like such a big part of your life, or leaves such a big mark on you and whatever,
It's like a lot of series I watch. I thought,
me threatening you to watch Game of Thrones for years and everything like that.
And I did, and I was like, what?
Like, I don't.
The Sopranos.
Yeah, The Sopranos was the one I was about to bring up. It was like, it took me 6 years to get through it all, right, because Sky kept deleting it off the planet. I would get through one season, right, because there were so many episodes and they were that long, and then I was like, right, I'll give it a couple of days and I'll be back, and then Sky would take it off, they'd put it on again 3 months later, and I was like, am I going to go all the way back to start? I was like, nah. And then, we won't spoil the ending or that, but...
best series of all time.
Oh, yeah. James.
Best series of all time. Hands down. And I've seen a lot of series.
Yeah.
I actually started binge watching Line of Duty just now. It's not bad.
That's incredible.
It's very good.
I think it was just because like the end, like obviously the last one's been like so hyped and everything like that. I just like I'm start watching it for the beginning. So I think I'm in like season 3.
It's really good then.
Yeah,
I'll start watching it like a week
my
past
mum
Sunday.
started watching it. I was just in the background. I was like, what's this? And then the next day I'd like binged it all and was like, where is it all? I was like, well, I've watched it.
It's all on BBC
It's lost to the BBC iPlayer times now. But when we talk about music scenes and that, if you look at cities like Manchester and Liverpool, like they're defined by music scenes that they've had over like 80s, 90s, 70s, 60s. Those things will never die, right? And I think it's such a shame that this kind of digitization of that is going to almost not. Well, I guess it would kill it, right? But certainly not make it leave the same kind of cultural impact that it did on those, right? Like if you still walk around Manchester city centre today, how many people are going to be dressed like the Gallagher brothers or Ian Brown and whatnot? But this is like the power of not just the music itself, but the band's impact had,
A lot of people, but less than you would think nowadays, because all that boys are all dads and that, so they're all like 40, 50-year-old, and they're going about in long trench, green jackets and that, and it's cool. But I'd rather see much more people dressing like that, but I don't know, it's kind of weird. It's sort of like dying away a little bit.
I remember watching Noel Gallagher's High Flying Birds at Tea in the Park 2012, and he was saying he was quite shocked to see how many like young people were there in that, and I was about to say that was recently, but like 2012 is nearly 10 years ago now, so
not far off,
yeah. So I guess maybe my kind of points redundant there, but Right, we've got a couple more questions before we wrap it all up, guys.
Yeah.
And they're kind of more generic, these ones. So I'm going to ask both of you: who are your favourite people in music off the top of your heads?
I got one you got.
As long as you need, mate.
Right. My favorite. I'm going to start off with DMAs. They're doing some incredible things at the minute. I mean, their first 3 albums, I've not found a bad song yet, and it's very rare to do that. To go into someone's, music and sort of pick out a bad song. It's very difficult to do it to them. There's not one, and believe me, I've tried to find it, and it kind of annoys me a wee bit how good they are. Do you know? And then there's a guy in the band called Johnny. His brother's got a band called Planet, and they're incredible. They're really good. And then Johnny's got a girlfriend called Hayley Mary, and she's absolutely brilliant. So there's a lot of good stuff coming out of Australia at the minute. And DMA, see, if you looked at them, you'd think they were from Manchester, with the music they play and how they look. But they're from the other side of the world.
Yeah.
It just shows you how far that's impacted.
Local music scene can travel across the world, right?
Yeah, John Mayer, he's doing some incredible things at the minute. He just created a new song called Last Train Home, and it's like an 80s song. And I'm a big 80s guy. I love, 80s movies and 80s music and all that. And when he came out with that, I was just like, how's he done that? It's just incredible. I don't know. He's just brilliant. And then who else? Richie Sambora is my hero. He was the lead guitar player for Bon Jovi, but he's got incredible solo career. Absolutely brilliant solo career. Probably, I would say him and John were probably the Lennon and McCartney of the 80s. Who writes songs like Living on a Prayer?
Yeah, exactly.
Richie Sambora was a very underrated songwriter, to be fair.
Underrated guitar player, I would say. But you've got Love a Bad Name, you've got Living on a Prayer, Wanted Dead or Alive, Bad Medicine. You don't just come up. That's just incredible. Like how you can write that sort of stuff. But
it's crazy how when you see like a big group break up, they always think that's the end of them all, right? But so many people end up going to have successful solo careers. Do you know what I mean?
Well, Richie left the band in 2012. I think it was just a family thing. He just wanted to spend more time with his family and that. But yeah, Bon Jovi were a massive influence, but Richie very much so. And then obviously Noel Gallagher was a big part of my Oasis in general, really. But Noel went on to do some really good stuff with his new album, and it was very ballsy what he did.
Yeah.
It changed a lot. From the first album and then Chasing Yesterday.
It's unrecognisable, right?
Yeah, they were quite similar, and then in a way, you could tell it was him. And then when he came out with that, I was just like, whoa. Everybody was kind of like, nah, don't like it. It's like, give it a chance.
Yeah.
I listened to the whole album. Last song on it's called Dead in the Water, and the whole thing. From Fort Knox, it's the first song, and there's not really any singing in it. It's just like an intro to just genius. He went into the studio with no songs, and I think his producer said to him, "I just don't write anything. Just don't do what you normally do. Just come in and challenge yourself. Try something different." And he created that.
Yeah.
Just genius.
Yourself, Jamie?
So mine's kind of off such a broad kind of one. Actually, let's see the question again. Trying to
just your favourite people in music. Can be anyone. Could be
has to be favourite.
yeah. A collection of favourite people in music. Then
Enish Carey would be definitely up there. Kind of people call them heavy metal, screamo, dance, trance stuff as well. There was something completely different for the time and everything like that, like kind of around about the same kind of time as Pendulum, and it was quite refreshing. But like the guitar riffs and everything was something I liked, so like I've always followed them. I've been to loads of their gigs. Guy I started recently listening to Tim Montana, really getting into him. Really talented singer songwriter. His whole band's talented as well. Like Audio Slave, Soundgarden, Chris Cornell's probably my favourite singer of all time. Great voice, great songwriter. Like everything from like that was in Soundgarden. Like they was saying earlier on, like how like I like kind of Arc Monkeys, because the kind of like their lyrics and everything like that, how cryptic it was. Like Audio Slave, like a stone. Like so many people could like relate to that song, kind of thing. So like definitely up there.
Chris Cornell's cover of Nothing Compares.
Aye, that's something different. I like that. That's brilliant. Gaslight Anthem, actually, that's another band that's up there. They're really good. I'm hoping they're going to come out with a new album soon. I know they've been on a bit of hiatus for a while. But yeah, they're particularly good. Then like Stone Roses and everything as well.
Especially when you bring up the Stone Roses, and just because we're talking about Oasis a minute ago, I think it was even one of the Gallagher brothers themselves said that if the Stone Roses hadn't have happened, or hadn't, there would be no
yeah,
Oasis.
I remember seeing that interview. It was Liam, was at a Stone Roses concert and just like looked at your brother and said, "I'm a singer in a band. He can do it, I can do it, let's do it." And he says to his mom, it's like, "I'm starting a band, I'm going to be a singer." It's like, "Yeah, well, you better." He's like, "I want to be big." He's like, "Oh, you better, you're only 20 quid. Because she had to pay for this ticket or something like that. Brilliant.
Yeah, the Stone Roses are a massive influence.
Stone Roses are a big influence for me. I think that's like more a common ground. Oasis, I do like a lot of Oasis songs. I wouldn't say I'm as heavily into them as you. I'm never really keen on High of White Bird. For someone that like prefers Noel out, other than Liam out, the two of them, I still actually preferred
stuff like BDI and
like
that.
BDI and everything as well. And Liam's own stuff.
They've done some really, really good stuff.
Aye, really clever.
That's with BDI.
I think I was like it was more like my 60s kind of things, like obviously the influence from my father and like Kinks and everything like that. I think that's where like kind of how I like BDI and that so much.
There's a lot of Beatles influence in BDI.
Yeah,
I thought there's a lot of sounded a lot like Beatles.
I think everybody has to like kind of Beatles, like the rock and roll and everything else like that. That was another common ground that we had for small talk. We're both big Beatles fans as well.
Two more to go.
So
plans for the future for both of you. When's the music you reckon it'll be out? I don't want to like pressure for your date or anything, but
we are gonna start recording quite soon. It's the end of COVID and everything else like that. So
I'm kind of like, just let me write 5 more songs. Okay, how many you wrote? 4. Right, well, 1 more. Okay, let me write another 5. Just another 5.
It's okay. We just need 10 in the locker in case these one's gonna cut it.
it's like, you ever seen like Snatch?
Yeah.
The very start is like, "Can I how long's my sausages off? 5 minutes, Turkish."
You said 5 minutes, 10 minutes
It's
ago.
it's like, "How many more songs you got?" "I've just got 5 more to write." "Alright, no problem." And it's like, come back in like 2 weeks later. It's like, "How you getting on?" It's like, 3 more to write." It's like, no problem. It's like, give another week. It's like, "How you getting on?" It's like, 6 more songs, Jamie." It's like, what?
You know what it's like though? It's kind of like, you know, like when you make a big meal, right? And then you go, "I know it's way too much.
Yeah.
Tomorrow there's going to be how much?" So you're just going to go, "I'm waiting for this album or the next album." You know, and...
I love that analogy. I think every single person that watches will relate to that analogy.
Well, it's kind of like, you know, because once... I'm going to release an EP, but... And then I sort of kind of want to crack on with an album after that, you know what I mean? So I've got that sort of mentality where I kind of write enough songs. So why not have an album? Why not do it? But take the time and get it right. Don't
rush it for the sake.
I think my suggestion was like the amount of songs that he's got that we've done as well. Like there's obviously like a kind of like we were just discussing this other day actually. There's a certain style that you like when kind of this is much better defined by like you identify by. Like, so the songs that are within that kind of idea, how like you want your album shaped, or your EP shaped, sorry. Like the sound of that will be kind of continuous all the way through, but then the other songs that you've written that are, in my opinion, very good, use them as B-sides. So like when a tune gets released, you release the B-side along with it, which is something you'd obviously get like back in the day when you bought a single.
Aye.
So I think that was like kind of quite a clever kind of thing to maybe put in with it as well, and then give people like it would expand to a wider audience that way as well. That way. So I think that's kind of something we're looking at doing.
We were out in the car the other night, and he was pulling out songs, and I'd forgotten I'd written. And he's going, "What about this number? Whoa, what?
Did I write that?"
I was like, "Okay, fine, let's try it." But yeah, I mean, as you said, I mean, B-sides used to be released quite a lot. I mean, if you go onto Spotify and onto like definitely maybe Oasis's first record, you'll see that there's B-sides on there. I mean, you've got songs like Fade Away and
Half the World Away is a B-side.
And
that's crazy that's a B-side. Like,
yeah.
even that's like a massive song.
It's crazy. Yeah.
So yeah,
crazy.
not necessarily any time frame, but some of them we're definitely going to be getting straight kind of stuck into very shortly. I think because like my talents with Logic's much better than what they were. There's a few folk online that's kind of quite good at giving me a hand with things as well. So we'll be looking to kind of get the ball rolling quite shortly.
Yeah, get stuff kind of going. It's been a while. I mean, I've got to be honest. I mean, I wrote "Take It for a Ride" in probably 2014.
Wow.
That's how long that song. That's how old it is. Probably around that old. So that just shows you how long I've been sitting on a lot of music. So
the other problem we've got is like kind of tend to get sidetracked. So like I've got about 4 or 5 songs like kind of written. It's like just like as a kind of co-joint project. It's like, right, you see what you can do with this. So it's like the other way around kind of thing. So I'm like kind of handing stuff over to you as well.
It's like just put lyrics in it. Good ones.
put lyrics in it and change bits if you win. Just make sure it's good.
So when it gets released and everything, you have to send us the links over.
Yeah, of course, I
post it in the video eventually.
Shameless plugs.
Aye.
I think once I've sort of got something that I'm happy with, I'll probably send it to a select few people to see what they think.
Yeah, it'd be good to kind of get it out there and then get like people's reaction first before everything kind of does go out properly, whether it be in CD form or whatever.
I mean, it's funny because I'll sit and play all these new songs that I've just written, and the only person that hears them is my brother. He's just sitting there and he's just doesn't even take any notice. And I'm going, "What do you think of this?" Oh, it's alright.
Cheers for the input, Stu.
Appreciate it.
He's the first one who hears everything, and then if I think it's good enough, I'll send it to him and see what he thinks. But they're all just acoustic. I just write on acoustic, and I just bought a new guitar, so it's like a workhorse. I just sort of sit there and just play it all the time and just write. And I'm constantly writing just as much as I can, and just see.
Must be cathartic for you to do stuff like that, like just writing constantly. Because, like you said, when you stopped during the lockdown and stuff like that, that's when the kind of you feel like you need that in your life to keep you on like an even keel almost.
Well, it's funny. It's funny you should say that. I woke up at 3 this morning now with an idea. I just woke up and I was like, phone.
Yeah.
I start humming at the phone.
I was like, I'm not playing guitar at 3 in the morning. My mum would kill me.
Yeah.
But no, like it's weird. It's even when it wakes me up when I'm sleeping. So it's like my brain's just sort of dialed into doing it. I don't know. It's just the way it is.
Some things are best left a mystery, right?
I'm not going to question it.
No, exactly.
I'm not going to question it. No.
One final question before we wrap this up, guys, and it's just simply, what does music overall mean to you? I'd imagine it could
Well,
be
way of life, to be fair.
Everything.
Isn't it?
It means everything, really, to be honest. I could be having a real horrible day, and you just stick a song on, like a particular, I don't know, and it'll just instantly lift you up. It's I don't think there's anything else that can really do that.
Yeah, for such a humble tool, it can literally trigger any emotion that the person that's playing it wants to.
And see, once I've listened to that song, or however many songs I feel like listening to, my day's much better than it was. Quite powerful, that.
Yeah, it's 100% powerful. Dudes, appreciate the time. Both of you to coming on.
Aye.
And we'll look forward to hearing the music in the future.
Yeah,
Great.
no problem. We'll get it over to you. Give you a tester before.
Yeah.
Before it all goes out.
That's what you get for being a podcast host. These days. Perks.
Celeb.
Cheers. This podcast is also available on Google Podcasts, Breaker, Pocketcasts, RadioPublic, and Spotify.